Everything I accomplished served this family only. Laura tears. Megan answers, looking at the doorway, tear-stained but steady. No. Everything you did was for yourself. And today we all know the reason. Laura goes somewhat motionless as I slide one final document across the counter. An old picture. William wasn't merely aiming to reveal the hoax, was he? I inquire, seeing her expression crumple. He found something else. About the true father of Ryan. About why you so sorely needed the connections of the Carter family. Mom? Mom, what's happening? Ryan's voice calls from outside. Laura leaps for the picture, but Grace is faster. Her shriek resounds in the abruptly quiet kitchen. Looking at the picture, Grace adds, That's my father, staring at Laura. 37 years passed. I say, 9 months before Ryan was born. The truth hangs between us like smoke. Decades of control, all to conceal one desperate affair, thereby preserving the Mitchell family's pristine image. You destroyed everything? Laura says quietly. No. I stand, compiling the last of the papers. You lost everything the moment you chose lies above love. William fought to save all of us and today at last he has. What precisely do you mean? Much one last time I grab my phone and show her the message chain. From an unidentified number, from a dead man, scheduled emails, planned to arrive years after his death. I meet her eyes. William knew he might not survive trying to expose the truth, so he left breadcrumbs for whoever was brave enough to follow them. I wasn't first victim, Laura. However, I am your last. Ryan is watching via the glass, finally seeing dawning on his face as Grace hands him the picture as the cops walk to escort her out. Was it worth it? Laura wonders as they lead her away. Burnishing everything to save a dead man's honor. Of Megan and Grace, now free from manipulation, of William, who passed away trying to protect us all, I consider the children above, their futures now safe. I add gently, some things are worth burning for. Michael squeezes my shoulder as the sun rises over the Mitchell estate, casting everything in gold. Beside me, sirens fade. You okay? 30 years of lies collapsing in Laura's path, I see her go into a police cruiser. No, I say honestly. But I will be. Sometimes the truth simply tells you who you really are. Sometimes it doesn't set you free. Ryan's last box from his study remains unopened on my kitchen counter. Autumn leaves abound in my backyard, where 3 children previously swore to be friends forever through the window. Megan says, Grace wants to meet both of us. My phone buzzes. Laura and Ryan, both convicted, ended the trial yesterday. The headlines claim justice. The society pages labeled it scandal, neither fairly portrayed the facts. Expecting more evidence, more secrets, I raise the top from the box only to see an ancient video camera, the kind we used summer before college, when everything seemed possible. Megan stands there, appearing smaller somehow, more like the girl I used to know than the lady who helped sort everything. The doorbell rings. Holding out an identical camera, she adds, I found my too, from Mom's attic. Both of us set them on the counter. These relics of who we used to be neither of us reaches to switch on. Did you come across Ryan's comment? She inquires. No. I pour us both coffee. This is a habit from earlier, when friendship was straightforward. Did you? Much her giggle sounds brittle. He said he loved both. Actually believed it, I guess. Sliding her cup across the counter. That's Ryan, I remark. Living his own truth, even when it's a lie. Megan strokes one softly while the afternoon light catches the cameras creating twin shadows. Before Grace arrives, she continues, we should observe them. Before we choose our course of action. She nods. We both know Grace's meeting is about the future of her business, about trust and second chances, about whether some bridges can be rebuilt after they have burnt. It is not only about reconciliation. Ryan behind the camera, narrating our last summer together, behind which we are young, laughing, whole. Ryan connects the first camera to my laptop. The screen flickers to life. Before college. Before decisions. Before we knew how love and lies might wear the same face. Megan says unexpectedly, stop. Then looks at that moment. The picture freezes on our younger selves, sharing some forgotten joke, but it's Ryan's reflection in the window that catches my eye. The way he watches us both, scheming, even then. I understand he simply showed us who we already were, not destroyed us. What do you imply? Megan queries. You always yearned for adventure, I was always yearning control. He only turned those facts into weapons. The second camera sits dark, uninterested. Certain facts, I'm discovering, don't need to be seen to be understood. Megan's coffee sits unethered, going cold. Now we choose, I say. Between easy and true, not between right and wrong. Grace grabs my hand before Megan moves to answer the doorbell once more. She says, "I'm sorry, not for loving him. For not remembering how to love you first." Remembering Laura's last remarks during the trial, "Love makes liars of us all," I squeeze back. "Maybe," I say, "Megan, we quit trying to change the past. Perhaps we should start something fresh." She nods, knowing what I'm not saying. About Grace's company, about second chances, about how occasionally revenge isn't about destroying what was, but constructing what may be. Laura plans her appeal somewhere in a prison cell. In another, Ryan writes letters we will never read. Life moves forward, messy and imperfect. Grace opens the door and notes how she carries herself now, straighter, stronger, free from decades of manipulation. The autumn wind scatters more leaves over the yard. I leave the cameras on the counter unaltered. Certain memories are better lived than remembered. Some facts are not revisited necessary. Megan and I glance at one another, remembering other documents, other plans, other decisions as Grace piles papers across my kitchen table. Plans for rebuilding, for forward movement, prepare? Grace questions. Of Laura, creating barriers to hide truths never worth preserving. Of William, planting truth bombs to detonate years after his death. Of Ryan, loving so fiercely he forgot how to love honestly. Indeed, I say, and I mean it. Sometimes the best kind of retribution is one in which one gains freedom rather than exacting revenge. After my wife's betrayal with my business partner, I guard my daughter's future while they try to reinsert themselves in our lives. My ex-wife Kathy, 38, and I, 38, had been together for 19 years and married for 16. We also had a 14-year-old daughter together. However, she left approximately 6 months ago to be with my previous work partner. To be more specific, my ex-work partner, as he sold his shares and left the company once I uncovered the affair. Leon, the guy I used to run the firm with, was a co-worker and a close friend. We agreed to quit our jobs and form a company together. We'd been working together for 5 years, and he'd had an affair with my wife for 3 of them. I learned about it approximately 6 months ago when I discovered some text messages on my wife's phone. When I challenged her about it, she didn't even try to dispute it and instead accepted everything. She told me she was sick and tired of hiding things and simply wanted to leave. I was saddened since I had no notion she was unhappy in our marriage, and I was willing to do anything to change that. So on the day I confronted her, when she announced she was leaving, I assured her we could still make it work. That was very stupid of me, but I was desperate. She simply became irritated with me and stated that the only reason she married me in the first place was because she was pregnant and didn't want to be alone. She'd tried to love me for 16 years, but it hadn't worked. She was not going to let me stop her now that she had found someone she truly loved. She explained that now that I knew about the affair, her secret had been revealed, and I had to swallow it and move on. I was heartbroken, especially for the sake of our daughter, but she didn't even hesitate to leave. She filed for divorce, and the petition was quite simple. She simply wanted to leave and did not demand a settlement or alimony from me. The asset distribution was fairly balanced. We concluded the divorce after a few months. After a while, I knew that what had transpired would prevent me from making it work with her. After we filed for divorce, I faced Leon, who just apologized, claiming he had wanted to tell me about the affair for a long time but didn't know how. Within a few weeks, he quit and informed me that he and Kathy would be moving away to avoid causing further trouble for me. Kathy had been offered a fantastic job in Boston, and his cousin lived there, so he could work alongside him instead. He sent all of this in an email, and we never spoke again. The last time I saw Kathy was 2 months ago, on the day our divorce was finalized. Since then, I have not heard from one of them. My kid and I were going through a difficult time, but we were getting by. At least I still had my business to manage, which kept me busy since I wanted to provide my daughter the future she deserved. However, Kathy returned about a week ago and I'm still not sure if my daughter and I did the right thing. So around a week ago, at 11 p.m., someone began furiously ringing our doorbell and knocking. My daughter had already gone to bed and I was finishing up some work in my office when it happened. We hurried to the door to check and through the glass, we saw Kathy. My daughter urged me not to open the door because she was furious with her mother. Despite having partial custody, Kathy has made little effort to communicate with our daughter, and the fact that she cheated does not sit well with her either. Their relationship is tight right now, but I knew if Kathy was at my house at such a late hour, it had to be urgent, so I opened the door and allowed her in. Instead of coming in, she started ranting at me from the doorstep, threatening to sue me. She insisted on taking this to court so she could receive everything she was owed since she couldn't believe I had chosen to punish her so harshly. For the first few seconds, I had no understanding what she was saying, and I had to urge her to slow down and elucidate since I was so perplexed. She was still upset and said there was no need for me to pretend I didn't know because she was certain I had withheld Leon's true character from her to punish her for cheating. Then she pulled up her shirt sleeve and showed me a place on her arm covered in a band-aid. I concluded Leon must have done something, which surprised me because we had worked together for several years and he had never lost his cool in front of me. Kathy told me that they had been arguing for the past few weeks, ever since they moved to Boston. Nothing had remained the same since their move. She assumed it was because Leon was still adjusting to his new life, but after a month there, he was acting as if everything was Kathy's fault. He apparently kept accusing her of wrecking his life because he had to abandon the business he had fought so hard to build. Now he had to work with his cousin, who was always undermining him, and he blamed Kathy for everything. She was the one who told me about the affair before he was ready, and now he had to relocate to Boston for her work, so he couldn't compete for the business either. They'd been arguing every night, and the night before she arrived, he got incredibly angry and threw a vase at her. She attempted to dodge it, but it still struck her arm, causing a cut. Until that point, he had only verbally abused her, but this time it had gone too far, and she had left the house that night to take the next flight here to tell me about it. She told me that Leon had not even tried to contact her or apologize after she departed. She said I was to blame for this because she believed I was aware of his violent behavior and had concealed it from her in order to punish her. She thought it was unfair of me to do so, especially because she believed she had done me a favor by not fighting for anything during the divorce. I couldn't even get her back and secure her safety. It was all pretty foolish because, as I already stated, I had worked with Leon for a long time and knew him well, but just on a professional level. In the office, he was much different. I had never dated him and had only met the ladies he had previously dated, so there was no way I could have known about this side of him. Her charges that I had hidden everything on purpose made no sense to me, and I was furious that she was acting as if I owed her something. I attempted to explain to her that I had no idea about all of this and that I was deeply sorry that it was happening to her, but it was ultimately her fault. She could threaten me with litigation all she wanted, but she understood it wasn't my fault. She continued to argue, stating that I knew everything and that she would fight for everything she didn't get during our divorce. My daughter had been waiting at the door the entire time, and I had almost completely forgotten about her since I was so preoccupied with the fight. When we started talking in circles, she interrupted Kathy and told her to go. I was astonished since I didn't expect her to interrupt, and I believe Kathy was caught off guard. Kathy then advised my daughter to stop up and keep out of it because she was too little to understand what was happening. She told my daughter to go to bed, but she refused. She held firm and stated that Kathy had no right to speak to me in this manner, especially given what she had put me through. My daughter reminded Kathy that I had been sad for the past few months, ever since I discovered her infidelity. Kathy, the cruel and heartless monster that she was, simply carried on with her life. She then pointed out that Kathy had neglected to visit our own daughter or stay in touch since she was preoccupied with Leon and her new life. My daughter informed Kathy that she had failed to be a good wife and mother, thus she had no business acting like a victim in a scenario she had made for herself. My daughter is only 14, but seeing her express those things made me realize how much she had matured since the divorce. Kathy was completely speechless and unable to respond to our daughter's statements. Finally, my daughter informed Kathy that now that she had gone and was living with Leon, she would have to cope with whatever she was going through on her own because we were no longer her family. Kathy had dug her own grave, and now she had to lie in it. Which was exactly what she deserved for screwing people over. After saying this, my daughter slammed the door in Kathy's face and returned to her room. I could hear Kathy crying outside the door, but I didn't bother checking on her because I didn't think it was necessary given our recent chat. I too went back to bed, trying not to think about the issue for the following few days while keeping myself busy at work. I was quite proud of my daughter for standing up for me and not allowing me to appear weak in front of Kathy. Things were going well after that visit, but 3 days ago Kathy showed up again, this time with a lawyer, demanding complete custody of our kid. Fortunately, our daughter was out with a couple of friends when she came over in the evening, so I haven't told her anything about it yet. I was furious when Kathy informed me that after our daughter spoke with her the last time we met, she decided she would no longer allow our daughter to live with me. She informed me that the actual reason she hadn't tried to contact our daughter after I found out about the affair was that she didn't want to become involved in a lengthy custody battle that would disturb my life much more than she already had. This, she claimed, was why she wanted to depart discreetly and hadn't attempted to contact our daughter. She thought it would have made matters worse because I was furious about the situation. So she was basically trying to tell me that she did all of this for my sake, not just to get out of having any responsibilities. I was clearly not buying it, and I informed her that the only reason she didn't fight for anything during the divorce, let alone custody of our kid, was that she wanted to leave swiftly and start a new life with Leon. This had nothing to do with me, as she tried to make it seem, therefore I didn't need to feel sorry for her. However, she stated that she no longer cared about that since she now desired full custody of our daughter and was determined to ensure that she received it. She insisted that she would not let me ruin my daughter's opinion of her by telling her ridiculous stories and training her to disrespect her mother. Kathy said that during our last meeting, our daughter was extremely disrespectful to her, and that I encouraged this conduct. She now knew what to do and had returned to inform me that she was taking this to court. I told her to be my guest and closed the door because I didn't want to waste any more time talking to her. However, I began to question whether she had a point. I wanted to believe I was doing the right thing, but I wasn't sure, to be honest, so I felt bad about not reprimanding my daughter when she was rude to her mother. Update 1. I've determined that I have nothing to be sorry for. My daughter did the correct thing in sticking up for me, and the comments made me understand how silly I was. She cheated on me, so I don't think I should feel sorrow or regret for what happened to her. Many people in the comments urged me to speak with my daughter first, since it would be unfair for her to be caught off guard if Kathy applies for full custody after our last meeting. So I told my kid about it yesterday. I didn't want to withhold anything from her. She has already demonstrated to me that she is grown enough to handle these situations, and I feel horrible that she had to mature overnight. At least now, I can help her prepare for the future. So yet, we haven't heard from Kathy, but we expect to shortly. Our daughter is 14, which means she can be considered in court if the situation escalates. If we can reach an agreement during mediation, that would be ideal, but just in case, I have confirmed that she actually wants to stay with me. She has made it clearly plain that she doesn't want anything to do with Kathy, not just now anyhow. She told me that in the future, she would contemplate reuniting with Kathy and restoring their connection, but for the time being, everything is too fresh. She clearly blames her mother for splitting up the family, and I can't say anything because it's technically correct. I don't want to be the type of father who turns his child against his ex-partner for petty reasons, but in this case, I don't think there is much I can do. Kathy has done a fantastic job alienating our daughter, who now prefers to keep her distance from her own mother. They were fairly close before the affair came to light, so this is a significant departure from what they were both used to. Kathy is clearly irritated that my daughter is on my side, as she has always attempted to be closer to her. Speaking of which, several of you wanted to know who informed our daughter about the affair. It was Kathy, not me. She confessed in an email to our daughter a few days after she moved out, without first asking if I wanted to be involved. My kid was really unhappy when she found out, but she still wanted to speak with her mother just once. However, Kathy refused. When I tried to contact Kathy to let her know our daughter wanted to talk, she refused because she was too preoccupied with the divorce process. She also didn't think it was proper to discuss it, so she expressed what she wanted to say in that email and had nothing else to add. I attempted to persuade her to speak with our daughter only once because she appeared to have a lot of questions. However, Kathy remained adamant about her decision. After that, she stopped speaking to us entirely, and my daughter's perception of her mother shifted dramatically. Kathy holding me responsible for that does not seem fair to me. Anyway, I've spoken with my lawyer and we're going to deal with this. Update 2. Kathy ultimately served me with the notice for full custody a few days ago, and my lawyer and I responded by fighting it right away. We are scheduled to meet with the court-appointed mediator tomorrow, but Leon called me today. I was shocked to see his name on my phone because we didn't have much to chat about, but I answered the call. As soon as I did, he asked me to return Kathy to him. He claimed he'd been trying to reach her for a few days and knew she'd been with me or spoken to me, so he wanted me to tell her where she was. I told him I had no idea where she was residing, but I had spoken with her in the last several days and she was here to battle for custody of our kid. To be clear, I did not do this to help Leon, but I hope that if Leon stopped by and chatted with Kathy, he might alter her mind and convince her to return. If I was lucky, he might even get her to sign over her rights to our daughter. With that in mind, I told him everything and added that she was upset since he had not contacted